My God is a consuming fire. He died on a piece of wood. Like, creation groans for him.
Hey everybody, we're back with an episode of The Green Room. I'm here with my good friend, and I actually mean that when I say
I know you do.
Okay, like legit.
You love me a lot.
I don't know why,
And ditto.
Eniola. Like I do know why. That sounds mean. I know why, but I can't figure it out. Like every time I've been around you, my heart goes nuts. I don't think there's anybody that I've asked to be on here more than you. I'm serious.
That's actually true.
It's legit. I've been asking you for every time I see you. I'm like, please come and do The Green Room. Like, please, please, please. And you are, I never start out giving somebody a ton of accolades. Well, yeah, I do. But I honestly think you're one of the most important worship voices that I've ever met.
Wow.
And I mean that.
That's crazy.
Very rarely have I felt the presence of God in worship like I have when I hear you singing and praising his name. Our paths have crossed
so many times
in like from
bizarre.
Like Jackson Hole, Wyoming to I don't know where we haven't been in Brazil together.
No. I want to go to Brazil.
You can come.
Okay.
You can come with me anytime.
Done.
Anytime. And just all over, like our paths just seem to cross. And you've just transitioned, right?
Yep,
You're at Upper Room, or you were at Upper Room. Now you're at Circuit Riders.
Yeah.
I was just out at Circuit Riders with you.
Yes.
Just incredible. You have so much going on in your life.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, you were at the Send, Nashville, and you and Stephanie were my two favorite moments at the Send. Very similar. I think you guys carry something very the authority that you both carry.
Wow.
Also, just the natural ability that is God-given, but you also work at it, right? Your voices are just insane.
Dang, thank you.
Just insane. And so, guys, today we're with my friend Eniola, and I'm going to mispronounce your last name, Eniola.
Abioye.
Yes. Abioye. Abioye.
You did not mispronounce it.
Okay, boom. It's going to take me a while to get it again.
Don't get used to it. I'll get married one day and then I'll have to change
What are you
it.
looking for in a husband?
Strong.
Define strong.
Okay. I like this.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think someone who steps into a room and doesn't like have to prove that he's powerful, or like meek, like a man who's very meek, who's protective, like a protector, kind, and smart.
You just described the Amish community.
Listen,
you're going full Amish.
Send me, I'll
just
go.
Kidding.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
That's not all you're looking for.
No. There's also this desire in my heart for someone who is also cultured and has a love and a desire to receive from every nation, every tribe, and someone who even has like just this like a creative edge. I don't care what that means. Let's just like be creative somehow, whether it's like solving problems or doing art or whatever. And a father, like has the heart of a father, like, cause like that's my key thing right there for me.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. No creepers.
Yeah, please.
No creepers. So listen,
Will beat you up.
I will. I'll take you out. And I know people. I have friends in every nation. Most nations, I shouldn't say every, but a lot. And some of them owe me favors, and some of them are very powerful. And I know how to make people disappear.
That's good.
So leave her alone if you're a weirdo. Eniola.
I'm ministered to by that.
Talk to me. I actually don't know much about your early life.
Yeah.
And maybe before we jump into that.
Yeah.
I hate having people give their bio. Like you are a worship leader. You are more than that. You're a voice, right? You are a part of multiple movements.
Yeah.
You've been a part of birthing, the early incubation stages and movements. Like if you were to put this out there for people that have no idea who you are, what would you tell about yourself?
I would say I am a professional big sister. Like that's like my whole thing. Anyone who spends a lot of time around me will tell you, like, definitely have a mama bear heart. But like I love just establishing safe spaces for people through conversation, and I love hearing about people. I love sharing wisdom and ideas and just whatever. Like I love people a lot, and I love being around people. And so, I would say professional big sister is like the best way I could sum it up. And what that looks like is different in different, settings. So in this current setting, it's a lot of discipleship, like life on life, getting to be around young missionaries, and hearing their stories and encouraging them to live out the version of them that God designed in the beginning, which does take, this element of going, God, what did you design? And then agreeing with God, and then never treating them like anything except how God told you they are. And so starting, like that way of like, you go like, who are you? And then you kind of base them off of like your own perception. But if you treat people the way God told you, then you don't really ever miss. And so I just really believe, and I would say the next generation, but I believe in everyone. Like if you have a heartbeat, I believe in you. You know what I mean? And so there's that. So discipleship, life on life discipleship. I do songwriting here and there. I love writing poems. I'm an artist at heart. And so writing has been the most, I don't know how else to say it, but most slippery way to get all the stuff that's in my heart out of me. And then singing feels like an assignment from the Lord, leading worship.
I mean, that's obvious.
And then, but I love painting. I love anything I could get my hands on. If I could figure out how to do it, I'm down. Like, I'm so down to do it. So
you're a painter.
Yeah. I dabble.
You dabble. What does that look like?
Okay. So I would assume maybe that many artists experience this, but it comes in waves, and it usually depends on the time that I have. But recently, when I paint, I use these things I think they're called alcohol markers. Okay. And they're like graffiti markers. And I use those, and I don't know why, but for me, it's maybe similar to writing. I just like paint the canvas, whatever color, and then I use an alcohol marker to paint lines. And I just like, it's very rhythmic, and it's very like super consistent. And I just like kind of like a free writing, but moving lines. And I've
like, are these pictures, or are they just abstract?
They're more abstract. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I could do a picture. I probably could maybe, but you could. But I've just found like throw on some music, worship music, instrumental, hip hop, whatever. Yeah. And I'm like just going with that pen, and I don't know. I just feel like the way I exist in the world is like some things I don't know how to say. Right. Like I don't have words for some things that I feel. And so getting to like just use a marker and just go crazy on the, on the canvas, and no one ever seeing those things or knowing that they exist, it's kind of cool. Cause it's just like it's like a treasure chest.
Do you post any of them? Do you show people?
I did. I used to a long time ago because I try and sell them because I was like, I need money. But but I don't know how to sell art. So I just
it's hard.
Yeah. I was like, I don't even know who to tell this that I did this to. So so they exist right now in the garage of the house that I live in. And but I love them, and I do. I did a mural. Okay, this is so crazy. Funny story. My friends who know will laugh. 2020, right? 2020 was 2020.
Yeah.
And around that time, I was like, I'm going to do a mural. So because I couldn't like get like a legit mural, like contract or whatever, I just found where graffiti was. And so I bought these cool colors, and it was behind one of my friend's businesses in Dallas. And I made this cute little mural. I think it was like, I don't know measurements, but it was small. It was like a size of a poster.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I painted it, was so proud, told my friends to look at it. I tagged it, all the things. And then like, I think COVID happened. And then about a month later, I go back and it's like graffitied over. And I was like, that was rude. I was like, you guys are savage. But I just, I love the idea of taking a blank canvas and adding something beautiful to it. That's always been in my heart since I was young. Just like, if it's blank, I want to add something beautiful to it. And so.
Now, your sister told me that.
Oh my gosh, I love her. I got nervous though.
I've never asked anyone for info from a family member. You're the first.
This is crazy.
But we're at the Send a couple days ago.
Oh my God.
And your sister went to our mission school. I totally forgot that.
Yeah.
Totally forgot.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first times that it was one of the earliest times that we had hung out.
Yeah.
Was at Pastor Lyle Phillips.
Yes.
Come on, Pastor Lyle Phillips Legacy Church,
we
Nashville,
love you.
East Nashville Legacy Church.
So much.
And your sister was there, and I totally forgot this. So it's years later. I bumped into her at the Send, and I was like, "Oh, I have an opportunity." And she said that you do your nails constantly,
100%.
And I'm looking at them today,
100%,
and they're awesome. They're all different.
Yesterday.
Yeah. So you've always been artistic.
Yeah.
From the time you were young.
I think I didn't know it was a thing. Obviously, most of the time you don't, but I just knew that I was like, man, I mean, I guess, I don't know if I could put words to it. I loved reading. Like, I loved reading.
That was one of the things you told me the first time we met.
Yeah.
I was like, what's your dream? You're like, I want a bus, and I want to make a school bus, or was it school bus or a school bus mobile library?
Yeah.
And I was like, crush it, girl. And I was like, I don't know.
Honestly, I still want to do that.
You still want
that. 100%. But like, that is, I think I've just, the landscape of our imagination and the landscape of creativity, I think has been given over too much, obviously too much, to the world, to the enemy, to evil, and so instead of it being a place God can introduce like his ideas to us and his the best of what he has to us, it's become this landscape of like the worst that we could think of. And like, another thing I love is film.
You do?
I love film. Love
like
movies.
Making them, writing them, directing, watching.
Okay. I love watching them.
Okay.
And I did like a season at Bethel's Conservatory of Arts, learning how to write films, because I just love story like so much. And what I learned in that season was that every movie has like, nothing's happenstance. And so every movie has like a theme in it. And so like, if you think of the movie, like if you've ever seen the movie A Quiet Place.
I love it.
Yes. Okay. So all the time I'm thinking it's a horror film or thriller, but you realize reading through the script, it's actually a movie about family. It's a movie about a father and what he's willing to do for his family. And I'm like, that is the power of art, is the power to, Jesus, when anyone asked him questions or he would be doing anything, Jesus's responses were stories. He didn't have to, he didn't have to go. I think it's in the Gospels. I can't remember. I think it's in all of them at some level. But when they asked him, what's the kingdom of God like? He introduces the kingdom in a series of parables.
Right.
And and I think I'm just so gripped by how like we have that ability. Like what stories can we tell? What can our art say? What can our poetry say? And what even can our songs say? Our music. What stories can we tell? Like today I was listening to, remember I told you I was like up doing homework.
Yeah.
And I was listening to this instrumental by this guy named Judah Earl. And in love with his sound, in love with his music. So incredible. I'm listening to one of his songs and it's in a different language. I can't remember what language it was.
I'm going to pull it up.
Yes.
Keep going. Judah
and
Earl?
It's Judah Earl.
Okay.
And I'm listening to one of his songs. And as I'm listening to the song, trying to type my paper, I hear Yeshu or Yahweh in the song. So then I'm like, wait.
Which one?
It's Dreaming in Color.
I'm going to find it.
I listened to it and I'm like, and then it's the third song. It's like, I can't pronounce it correctly, but
yeah.
I'm listening to it, I'm like, what is he saying in the song?
Oh, that's not it.
It's the third one.
Okay.
It'll say David Forlew on it.
View album. I'm doing this. I can't pronounce that.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay.
So I'm listening to that song.
Are we going to get copyrighted, Struck?
Could.
Possibly not. Was there like a 30-second rule?
It's incredible. Listen to it.
It's just instrumental?
Yeah, it's instrumental. And then you start to hear vocals. But as you hear the vocals, they're crying out to Jesus. Like it say, thank you, Jesus, or we honor you, Jesus. And I'm like, wait, pause. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I look and one of the collaborators on it is someone who is a worship leader that I know of, David Forlew. And I'm like, that right there is the power of creativity and the power of creating, is you can invade this beautiful space. Judah Earl isn't necessarily a Christian artist that I know of.
Yeah.
But his music is just the background of my homework. And I hear Yahweh in it and I'm like, hold on, I know who that is.
That's crazy.
Yes. And I'm like, that's the gift we have with so many things. And I think of just movies that I've loved and stories that I've read and poetry and all these things. I mean, we talk about Narnia all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the power to illustrate like not the worst of humanity, but the best of God.
In the beginning, God.
Yes, created.
That's the first thing he did.
Yeah. And so, and I think even I have this whole thing of just like, it talks about in the beginning, God created. And then you go to like John 1, and it also is talking about in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And it keeps going. You go to Hebrews 1, and it introduces him again as the image of the Father. Jesus is the image of the Father. Go to Romans 1, and it talks about how we miss the glory of God when we don't honor the Creator. Like, and I'm like, well, of course, like how many pieces of art. I went on this binge. That's an intense word.
No, go for it.
Sorry. I went on this deep dive
Yeah.
of plays, like reading plays. And I made this list of like most influential American plays. So I start reading through them. And as I'm reading them, like, you know, one of them, like Tennessee, a guy named Tennessee Williams is the writer of some of them, Arthur something.
Arthur Cartwright.
Yes.
He was my father's neighbor.
Oh, that's tender.
Yeah. Married Marilyn Monroe.
Dang.
Yeah, my uncle has like poems
that
he would write. That he would write about the neighbor Marilyn Monroe. True story.
That's crazy. I really want to read those. But
Arthur Cartwright's incredible.
Yeah.
Famous playwright.
Yeah. And so I'm reading through these plays, and I'm like, whoa, the things people decided to focus on and the things that made it to the top of the list in America are some of the saddest, saddest like circumstances.
Right.
And obviously like they're real, like they're what people have gone through. And so people can relate to them. But I was like, man, and I'm not for like fantasy in the sense of like, let's make up something to escape.
Right.
But I am constantly thinking, I'm like, God, is there another door? Like, is there another door that isn't just, the worst of the worst, that isn't just the most base, the most painful? Is there another door that pulls on like glory?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like we engage the scriptures. The Bible is
Bible's
literature.
Full of really difficult stories. Exactly.
And so then I'm like, okay, I'm not necessarily looking for happy endings. I'm looking for the glory of God. And if the glory of God is the sum of his attributes, then how do I find the sum of his attributes in the stories that we tell, in the art that we release? Like, I remember this one painting that Rembrandt did of the prophet Jeremiah when Jerusalem fell. And when you pay attention to that painting, you're like, you weep because you're like, oh my gosh, Jeremiah, it's all about emotion. And so like I'm seeing the painting in my head and I'm like, you see Jeremiah hunched over. I won't get all the details right, but like,
listen, hold on. We're going to put a picture of it up
perfect.
Right here. Hold
it's
on.
Right
do this.
there
We go. It's right here. Matt hates it when I do this. Do you see that? Look at all the details.
But I think you just look at the pieces of the image and you look at the emotion. The colors tell a story. The colors they chose to use, where it's saturated, where it's unsaturated, what you see in the distance, what you see close to the center. And and to me, just looking, I'm like, oh, it's a picture of an old man hunched over crying. But really, it's this image of like, it's a story being told by Rembrandt of the emotion that a prophet of God who spent his whole life trying to convince a nation that they should turn back to God, or else destruction was coming. Destruction comes. And it's a true prophet is never happy when their prophecy of destruction comes true. Right. They're weeping because they're like, they didn't hear me. Like they're broken because they're like, we're in this together. And so I find myself just going, it's the way I experience the world, and the way I experience Jesus is through just these emotive.
We've never had this conversation.
No,
I didn't even know that you were in this.
I didn't either.
So I don't know. I never grew up. Well, before we went on, we were talking about Kobe.
Right, yes.
And I can't get into the sports conversation because my parents never did that. Right. Like I grew up, my parents are artists. So I grew up going to galleries. I grew up, they're great. My father does line art. Okay. Like that's all that. Like when you're talking about that, like my father, thousands of prints of his line art.
What?
All day. And he just does it during church. And yeah, I'll show you some of the stuff when you come and hang out.
Perfect.
Later. So I grew up around this. I grew up going to art galleries, hated it. I did.
I get it.
Right? But the moments that you're talking about, like I've seen so many of these paintings because I've been hauled around to art galleries around the world. I'll never forget Watson and the Sharks, famous painting, where it's capturing a moment as like friends are trying to pull their friend out of the ocean as a shark's gonna get. It's huge. It's like it's bigger than this wall. It's this massive print standing in front of that. The emotion that it can invoke is very deep. It is very powerful.
100%.
What an image can provoke. Where do you see, because hey, I want to start a bus, right? With a library. Yeah. Like you obviously love literature, right? We had a crazy theological conversation coming over here. Yeah. Like, where do you see all of this leading for you? And do you see this fitting into where God has you right now as a worship leader?
Yeah. I think the dream in my heart, really, like with the bus, with all these things, is there are these displaced hearts, people who think that in order to find beauty, you have to go outside of God, that God doesn't have something to say about beauty. And I think I've discovered that that's not true. And I've discovered the only true place to find any truth, any beauty, any goodness is in God, is in Jesus. And it's found all in the pages of the scriptures. And I don't know how, but I want my life, and I want to build a table that goes, what do you think you could find that's beautiful, that's outside of Jesus? I promise you could find it in him. Whether it's linguistics and the language that somebody speaks, whether it's the form and the shape that you could create with a pen and a pencil, the sound in music, the culture in a completely different tribe, like all these elements are in God. He did that. Acts 17, like, just displays that when Paul is talking to the people, I don't know, Epicureans, and he's like, this unknown God, like Paul, I read that scripture so much, and this is to answer that question, is that feeling of Paul was waiting for, I think, Timothy and Silas, and when he looks around in Athens, he looks around and the Bible says he was disturbed because of all the idols. And so he just starts to go talk to the other people, Jews that are around, and then he ends up talking to the Athenians, who the Bible makes a point to say that they were always looking for something new. And I sometimes feel like that's my generation, is like, we're looking for something new. We are throwing away anything old and we want something new. And so it interests us, and we're interested in, like, what's the new wave? What's the new? And what we don't realize is we're being given things as new, but they're old, And I'm like, how do we make disciples of all nations through the arts? Yeah. But for real, through the arts. Like, another movie I love a lot was Midnight. It's with Owen Wilson.
I'm gonna find it.
The something at midnight. Anyway, in essence, like, when you find it, say it and it'll help me. But in essence, the whole premise is the main character.
Midnight in Paris.
Yes. Midnight in Paris. The essence is this main character who is a storyteller and is trying to find a story to tell, is taken on an adventure in Paris. He's in Paris. And he's taken on this fantastical adventure where he ends up meeting Picasso, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Zelda, Ernest Hemingway, Gertrude Stein. Like, he ends up meeting all these people, Langston Hughes. Yeah. And he's having conversations with them. And I remember I don't know how to explain it, but this ache in my heart, because another thought that attaches to this is I always think, if we're in like 2024 and we have all these people who are believing God to move, to reform, to do all these things, has there ever been that same sort of person in, like, those times, but we're in the art world? Like, were there any? That's always the thing I'm feeling.
Martin Luther, greatest reformer, right? Like, there was a lot of people, but Martin Luther is the one that's really known.
Super impactful.
He just the mindset, right? To go, I have to look at this differently. Yes. A lot of people think that he hated Catholicism. He actually didn't. He actually tried to stay a Roman Catholic. He was actually trying to bring a change to it, and then
reform it.
Yeah, and then it and then it all went weird. But he was a hymn writer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of the early reformers wrote most of the hymns that we have today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys.
They weren't just and another cool thing. At least this is something that I've been thinking about the last 2 weeks is how technology played a role in those great advances.
100%.
For change, whether it was Reformation or even in revival, right? The changes, even in the worship industry or worship movement, how much technology has played a massive shift. So I think those two things are the technology and then these people that have this heart for creativity. They're always that are looking at things differently. It takes that sort of mind.
I wonder if that's where my heart is like, I want to bring all of them into one place. I want to like serve them. I want to serve the people who that would be their call. And I was talking to somebody yesterday who quoted Ken Helser, Jonathan Helser's dad, and they talked about this concept of basically what I got from it was that you build a canvas for your generation. Like you build the canvas, then you let them paint on it. You let the next generation paint on it. And I was always thinking like, who is willing to the point of always wanting something new and always wanting to start something and always wanting to be the first and I want my name on this and I want my name on that. It's like, who will be the person who is down to build the canvas for the next generation to cut the material, stretch it over, staple it on the wood frame, build the wood frame, and put it up and say, okay, I made these colors. Go ahead and paint. Feel free, whatever is in your heart. And I think that's what I dream of doing for my generation somehow. Like, I don't know fully what that means, but even with the dream of this library, it's like, what if there was this, I want to restore, I don't want to sound like prideful as if I have the answer, but in my mind, I'm like, there's a literary crisis in some of the inner cities of America. And so you have children who should know how to read, who don't know how to read because their parents don't know how to read.
Right.
And I don't have all the statistics. I just know this because I worked in nonprofit for like a couple years. And the kids who would come to our center, because our center was right in the middle of the projects. Like it wasn't like they come to us. We were in their neighborhood.
Right.
We were their community center. And I remember like kids coming in who are fifth graders at like a second grade reading level, or second graders who don't know their phonetics yet. And it was hard. And there's so many reasons for that, like so many. And there are people so much smarter than me who've written so many books about it. But I think my dream is to go, how can I bring the joy of reading back to you? Like, yes, the video game is fire. Like, please play it. Yes, like there's something cool on Netflix. But man, there was something powerful about something powerful. And I mean that in the sense of like an element of like autonomy to read a book and allow it to shape the way that you think and almost introduce a hope to you about the world that you live in that you can't get just by allowing, like, just going through someone else's story. And so for about 2 years when I did that job, like my job was to like steward our little library. And like, I remember we had a little tiny room, the size of this room, maybe smaller. No, it was this size. And I arranged all the books in it. I like bought stickers on Amazon. I made a little stamp and built a tiny library for these kids. And on their free times, when they weren't in the gym or needed some cool down time, they'd come sit with me and I would read books to them. And of course I would find these books by like Max Lucado or whatever. Like, I'm like, Christian worldview, you know, like I was like, you've got to believe, you know.
Right.
But I also would say, you know, sometimes in my free time, I go to Barnes and Noble and I go up to the kids section. I just go straight up to the kids section. Because those are where some of the most beautiful books are the kids' books.
What are some of your favorite? Like from when you were a kid?
They're the classics, like The Hungry Caterpillar. There's one I'm seeing, The Rainbow Fish.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever do Where the Sidewalk Ends?
I have those.
Yeah.
I have so many Shel Silverstein books like at home that I bought as a kid.
I love this. I didn't know this about you.
I'm like, I'm just like a kid at heart. I think, you know, there's a longing. I love family. I love kids. Yeah. I love the artists. I love the ones, I don't know why it's just so easy for them to like fall from the focus and just kind of okay. When I was 16, my youngest sister was born. So I'm the oldest of 4.
Okay. My
youngest sister was born. And so I think I was in 11th grade, growing in my relationship with Jesus. But now I'm 16 with a newborn in my house. And so I remember like my mom would say, because I got a window into how she raised us by watching her raise my sister. But now it was all of us doing it. It was so bizarre and awesome. And I would come home from school and my mom would say, whatever you put in front of her is what she will have. If you put in front of her in front of that TV, that's what she'll have. And I don't know what possessed me. I do. But I felt such a responsibility to put her in front of books because I was like, yeah, like TV's not bad at all. Yeah. I love film, but I knew that there's a power that hits your heart when you fall in love with story.
Right.
And there's it's an ownership too.
Right.
Because it shapes you, like the kind of person you become when you can articulate a story is really unique. It also helps your vocabulary. There's this percentage, again, I don't have it, but there's this percentage that homes where, how did it go? Homes where more words were spoken and the parents spoke to the child, not at the child, had their child developing at a higher rate and more efficiently or effectively than homes where this child was spoken at and there wasn't a lot of literature and reading. And sometimes there is a socioeconomic gap in that conversation. And I wonder, I'm like, how do we change that? Like, how do we...
You change it by getting a bus.
Yes.
Loading up full of books, Eniola.
Okay. And driving it around
Putting
everywhere.
a mural on the outside.
Oh my gosh, stop it. I see it now.
No, well, this actually brings up a question that I have.
Yeah.
Because we can talk about this for a long time.
Sure can.
And I don't mind doing that. Because Dylan travels with me. You know Dylan.
I love Dylan.
His parents are artists, or his father's an artist. His mother's a teacher. So we can actually have conversations that I didn't have with anybody my age, just because there weren't, and the ones that that I could have that conversation were mostly high. So
it's understandable.
But as you're talking, I feel like I'm getting a potential image of why you're with circuit riders. Do us a favor, okay? Because I actually don't know this. When did you find your gift for? Let me rewind this. When did you learn that you had pipes of 1,000 angels?
Well, I still don't know that, but
When did you find out you could sing? And then how did you get involved in Upper Room? I don't know any of this story.
This story is God's fingerprint all over it in the best way. So I grew up in a Nigerian home in the UK. I was born in the UK. And then when I was 7, my dad got a word from the Lord to move to the States. He told me like 3 years ago that the reason was because the Lord said your kids will be missionaries. I didn't know that. I was like, Dad, you could have saved me. I could have anyway. But I jumped in, to just life in America. And I think like my parents always remind me of songs I would make up when I was little. And they were like, you were like 2 or 3, like you would be just singing your own songs that you made up off the top of your head. And so we got to America, and that's like in England. So we get to America.
Where did you move in America?
I first New York, then Florida, and then we ended up in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. And that's where the big chunk of my childhood was, Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Not far from here.
Not at all.
Just a couple hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I was, I don't know, I think I might have been 11, maybe, or 10. And I did my first solo with my mom. Because you think my voice is nice. My mama, her voice is why I was like, I wonder if I can sing. Because her voice is so smooth and like rich. And she and my dad walked through our house every day, either praying in the spirit or singing worship. That's like all they did, like all the time. They just pray in the spirit, singing and worship. And I remember like thinking, man, my mom could sing. And so then I was like, I wonder if I can. And we did a we did a duet together for the first time.
Where?
We were in Stone Mountain. Like I was a kid. I was like 9.
At church or like?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it might have been like Mother's Day or something. And we had matching outfits. It was crazy. I was like, I don't want to wear it. I think it was lime green.
Yes, of course it was.
It was like a lime green like skirt suit that we both had.
I don't know what a skirt suit is, but I want to see what a skirt suit is.
Pantsuit.
Yeah.
But a skirt one.
Okay.
So blazer and
I like it.
Little pencil skirt. I looked just the same outfit. I'm so happy there's no pictures, guys.
I want to see this, but yeah.
We'll never see it.
So you did a duet.
Did this duet. Get done. And then in my mind, I was like, I just sang in front of people. Like, And so from then on, it was like doing the lead solo in the children's choir. And then when I became a teenager, it was like our church that I was going to at the time kind of changed the way they did it. We still had a choir, but now the youth, because we were just, I don't know why, but the youth were like leading worship. And so I would lead every Sunday. And every single Sunday, we would sing the pledge. You remember that song, The Pledge of
You got to give
Allegiance?
it to me.
I pledge allegiance to the Lamb.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Look it up. It's crazy.
Okay.
It's like the Christian pledge.
Okay.
And so we would sing it at the end of worship every single
What
Sunday.
kind of church is this?
It's a Nigerian Pentecostal church.
Yeah. Okay. I've never been to one.
Yeah, the denomination is called CAC, so Christ Apostolic Church, specifically Bethel Fellowship in Atlanta, Georgia. And I remember we would sing the what's it called? The pledge. And every time, I remember the first time I did it, because I was growing in my relationship with Jesus and I was falling in love with him. And I remember being like, I don't want to sing if I don't mean it. I don't know where that came from, but I remember thinking, I don't want to sing if I don't mean it. So then I started to go, I would look at the words, because it was in the back of our program, and I would like go, I have to mean this. And so then I would close my eyes and go, I pledge allegiance to the Lamb with all my heart, with all I am. I will seek to honor his command. I pledge allegiance to the Lamb. And we'd sing it 3 times. And by the 3rd time, I would be like emotional. And then I would just try like little things with my voice and be like, I wonder, hopefully I don't crack, But because of that, they kept putting me to be the person who had to sing the Pledge of Allegiance at the end of every worship set. And so that was like kind of the beginning of leading worship. My family moved to Tulsa because my mom attended Rhema Bible College.
Okay. And
then we were there for 2 years, moved back to Atlanta, and my parents were pursuing this dream that didn't kick off. And so we landed in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so I lived in Charlotte.
Been all over the place.
I have. Thank you, God. I was a missionary before I knew it. So Charlotte, North Carolina, I graduate from high school, 2007. Myers Park, what's up?
2007.
The Mustangs.
Yeah, I'm class of 2000.
That's great.
We're getting old. I'm much older.
It's when you meet someone and they're like, yeah, I was born in 2000. And you're like,
I was born in 82.
And I say 89 and they're like, what?
I know. We're relics.
I know.
I'm much more relic. You, not so much.
Anyways. But the
high school,
graduate, go to Oral Roberts University.
Okay.
And so I was there for 2 years. Moved back home to Charlotte.
Okay.
The reason is mainly because I wasn't going to class. I was only going to like prayer.
And how's your walk with that? So your walk with the Lord is strong from 9 on.
It's thriving.
So you've never had.
No, I've never had like a dip, but I have had like the seasons of like sin struggles as a believer.
Yeah. I stinking love that. Many people don't like they're like, I've known him, I've walked with him my whole life. They look at it as a lesser one when you hear somebody else's testimony.
It's true.
But
it's true.
it's garbage. I love that.
I got saved when I was 8.
Okay.
Do you know who Derek Prince is?
Of course.
Okay.
Who doesn't?
Let me tell you something crazy. Derek Prince was speaking at a church, and my parents took our whole family because they love Derek Prince. Mm-hmm. Derek Prince does like a creative miracle, preaches the gospel, and then he goes, there's one more person in here. And I remember being my little 8-year-old self being like, I don't know what my heart is being, but I believe him. So I stood up and I walked to the front. And I can't tell you where, but it's on a tape. I remember my parents would play that tape.
Stop.
And he says, there's one more person. Everyone starts clapping. It's a little girl. It's a little black girl just walking up in Charlotte, North Carolina, gives her life to Jesus.
Stop it.
And so that's where I gave my life to Christ. But fast forward back to I moved back home from ORU. All of a sudden I'm in this season where I'm having these encounters with Jesus that I hadn't had before. I would be in my room and I would ask the Holy Spirit to come. He would fill my room and I would just be like, what is happening right now? Like, how come you're coming when I'm calling you? Like, and I remember around this time I was like listening to Heidi Baker, and like, I didn't know who she was. I don't even know how I found her, but I would be listening to her and I would just press play on the little Dell laptop and then lay down and just weep and let the glory just wash over. I don't know what's happening. I'm just like, this is crazy, Lord. What do you have for me? Long story short, the Lord speaks to me and is like, go to Dallas. And it was an audible voice because it's the only time I've ever heard it. Yeah. And it was so clear. It was so strong. And I was like, okay, here I go. Wow. And I told my parents and they were not having it. They're like, we hear you. No, you literally don't know how to pay taxes. Like, they're like these lists of things. How old are you
at this time?
I think this would have been 2019. So 15 years ago. I'm 34.
Yeah.
Something. Anyway, probably 18, maybe. And I had just left college. And the reason I left college is because I just was not succeeding in my classes. And I was placing all the weight of just like going to anything that God was at. I was just really hungry. But in my hunger, I was just like not going to class.
Right.
SEP English class. Loved that class.
Doesn't surprise me.
Reading things. But I went back home and I remember like they're like, you need to get a job, you need to do these things. So I had a job and all this stuff. But the Lord spoke so clearly to me. It's like, Dallas is your next stop. And so that's not 2019, 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not 2019, 2009. So I moved to Dallas, and the first couple months there were terrible.
Really?
Terrible.
But you didn't know like where you're going.
I didn't know where I was going. I moved there, and a friend of mine who had been super close at the time had just got married. And so I moved in with her and her husband, and then they were like, we'll get you an apartment. But then our whole relationship got so toxic. One, because there was so much I didn't understand and know about life. Two, because they were newlyweds who had big dreams. And like, yeah, they just had big dreams. But and our relationship just ended like with them, and I didn't know what to do. And my mom said, you have an uncle who went to Christ for the Nations. You should go and see that out. So I went to Christ for the Nations, and I got there and immediately felt like I was right where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And while I was there is where I met all of my closest friends, like Joel, Elissa, like.
Really? Yeah, they're all Christ for the Nations?
Yeah,
I didn't know this.
We all met at Christ for the Nations, like students there. Joel had been there already.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Time out. I thought you guys met at Upper Room.
No, we were at CF&I. We didn't have. This was so funny because all three of us. I mean, it was a big crew of us, but all of our friends were in different like friend groups.
Hold on, is it weird that they're getting married?
No.
Okay. I'm sorry, I had to ask that.
But it is kind of crazy
because you guys have known each other from the beginning. Yeah.
It feels like it. Like.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I should ask that.
It's the best thing and the craziest thing.
I love it
because it feels like watching a fairy tale. Like you're like, I can't believe it's happening. Anyway,
yeah. Love you guys.
You know.
Love you guys.
But I remember like we didn't have a church. None of us attended a church really. Like I think a couple of us were serving at churches, but none of us had a church. So we would just get together, worship and pray all the time. And none of us made it on the worship team. And so we were just like, so we all like
at CF&I.
None of us made it on the worship team.
Were you ever out there when I was out there?
I don't think so. My years were 2010 to 2012.
I was on the cover of The
Voice of the Nations.
Yes, Voice of the Nations.
Voice of Healing?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think right around that time.
I do remember Heidi Baker came that year.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, I can't believe she's here. But I don't think I saw you.
Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. My ADD is kicking in.
I love this. I love when pads, anyway.
It's all good. So, okay, so you guys weren't accepted on the worship team.
Right, weren't accepted. So we all like separately led a set in the prayer room on campus. Each of us separately. And so we all like meet each other and become friends in the prayer room on campus. And we start doing our own like nights of worship just together, like not inviting people, just like together. And something crazy happened in that season. There was this like, I don't know, the only people I think that would remember would be the people who were there at the time. There was this like crazy like outpouring that happened while we were there. And we would be in the cafeteria. We would be in the middle of class. We would be driving in our cars and glory would fill our cars. And we all met each other in the glory. Like that's where I remember like we just would, the craziest things, and I don't know if you know this, but like when you're kind of in the glory, you kind of just crazy. You're like, no one's in charge. God's here. What do we do?
Yeah.
But the craziest thing, prophetic words went out. Like it was incredible. But after that, like we were just like, man, we're so hungry. We're just so hungry. And I remember I was like, is there a place? I was like, I don't care about finding a church. I want to find like a prayer room. So I did a little bit of research and I found this little church or prayer room on top of a vet clinic I just followed because it had a MapQuest on the website. It didn't have like a picture or nothing, just had MapQuest. So I literally was like, I'm just going to attend this. I'm going to go to the prayer room and hopefully it'll be open. And I show up and it's a room full of people who are just like only looking at God. And I was like, I think I belong here.
Is this the
This is
upper room? Okay. I've never been out.
Yeah. Oh, you have to go.
I know. I'm just the worst. Yeah.
Immediately.
I want to.
Yeah. You'll be so blessed.
How many people were there at the time?
Oh my gosh.
So
I think it was probably early. So I think it was like early that for me. So it's the first time I walked into the doors was 2011. I think the room probably had maybe 150 to 200 people in the room. We were in a tiny vet clinic, like on top of a vet clinic. So, in the quiet moments, you could hear howling dogs and little cats. Like it was crazy.
I stinking love it.
And so I didn't go for a small season. And then I went back in 2013. And I was going to do like my third year at Christ for the Nations, didn't know what I was going to do. And I got a word from someone. They said, that church that you've been going to, you need to live there, is what they said. And I had been considering doing what Upper Room was calling their residency, which is now called Upper Room School of Ministry.
Yeah.
And I was like, so interesting. So I signed up. I got 2 jobs. I worked at World Market and Jamba Juice.
Yes.
And I didn't have a car, so I just took the bus to both places and worked there.
You gotta work.
I gotta work.
You gotta work.
I had to.
All you students listening,
it's
you
so
gotta
good.
work.
It's
you gotta
worth
work.
it.
Yep.
It's worth it.
Yep.
And it was really powerful because it was just a place. There was such a holy pride in getting to use the money I got from work to pay for my classes.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Come on.
But all of us in our own way, we were all searching. And I remember like, as the season ended, they were like, do you want to lead a set or help like co-lead a set? And so I led a set. Then it was like, do you want to, then I moved to Denver, Colorado to help start the prayer room in Upper Room Denver.
There's an Upper Room Denver?
It's called House Denver now.
Okay.
I believe. And I remember I moved to Denver, about 20 of us, and just was in a prayer room every day. And then I would go work at Apple and Jamba Juice. But I would lead these sets. And I think that season for me was where the, I guess, responsibility of stewarding a room in worship was like planted in my heart because I didn't know how to play the piano. I still don't really know, but I know everything in the key of C and numbers. And so I would just sit there and play. I think You Make Me Brave had just come out, and I just would play the best I could and just sing, You Make Me Brave. And like, we would in this tiny room, probably same size as this room, and just like weep before God in Denver, Colorado, and ask God to build a stronghold of his presence in Denver. And then 6 months later, I moved back to Dallas, started leading worship. All of us started leading worship at that time.
Wow. And you guys had been formed together.
Yes.
Now, were there other people leading worship before? I know you guys have like a lot of teams that do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there were like Meredith Malden. She's an incredible worship leader. She leads these things called Song Labs now. But she was one of the first worship leaders there. A guy named David Porkadoo, Trace Howard, like these people who like formed what worship was at Upper Room. And it was less about sound. It was all about heart. And it was all about like, how do we give God what he's due nonstop? Like, how do we come in this room and minister to the heart of God? And I never heard that language before, but it resonated in me. Like it echoed in my heart. I was like, this is what I was made to do, is to minister to God. And so like, honestly, that was my life from 2013 till 2022 was just being, it was insane watching God like land on our house and watching him form us, form our pastors. Like we all of us were like these kids learning how to steward what God was doing.
So I was a kid when I started traveling with Randy.
Yeah.
Right? And I had a small group of guys, right?
Yeah.
That we were all kind of coming up together. How did you guys handle jealousy? How did you guys handle
this is so good.
Those moments when you saw people starting to get favor?
Yeah.
Maybe others didn't.
Yeah.
Did that happen? What
It
was
did.
that like? What were those conversations
Oh
like?
my gosh.
How did Michael jump in? Like I just want to know.
I think it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier about family. One of the primary things that I saw in my season there was a community that was bent on being family. And sometimes we knew how to do it well and sometimes we didn't. But we did it and we had to. All we had was each other. Like not in a negative way, in the best way. We were like, God didn't bring us together to make something big. He brought us together, period, you know? And so whenever like the seasons changed and we started becoming more known, what so many people don't know is prior to that season, our community had this intense outpouring of the fear of God.
Wow.
Like before we even got on like media, because Michael had a word from the Lord to not get on media. And so we weren't on media. We weren't on YouTube. We weren't on anything because the Lord spoke so clearly to Michael and to our leadership. No. But what was beautiful is we had formed these beautiful relationships, built our lives around God's presence, and glory in the form of the fear of the Lord hit our house. And there was a stripping, there was a deliverance. There was a fire, refiner's fire that came, and we did not know what it was for. I mean, maybe some people did, but I remember going like, God, what is happening? Like, this is beautiful and painful. Like, you're going after so much in us as a house. My small group of friends who were leading worship and our leadership were going through the stripping. And then the Lord speaks and says, now I want you to drop moments of your worship into culture.
Wow.
And then we're like, huh. And I remember, I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
I remember when the cameras came out, that's when all the junk came up. Because then you want to blame the cameras for your junk coming up. And it's like, nah, the junk was there. The camera's just exposed.
Hold on, just time out.
Yeah.
So you noticed a shift.
Yes. Yeah.
When cameras came in.
Yes.
And what was that shift? Was that in each individual's heart? Was it like everybody else at the same time? Like how was that?
Totally. I mean, it's
Could you see pride come up? Like
yes,
what was
you
it?
see pride, you see performance, you see comparison.
I got to ask you a question.
Yes.
What does performance look like in those moments? Like
yeah. Okay,
like
I will say
what
I
does it
am
look
not
like?
against performance because the Bible says Jesus performed miracles. So like not against performance. But in those moments, I think performance from a needs base is very different from a performance when it's like I'm already loved. I'm already known. I'm already loved. And I remember in me, in us, in different ones of us, there would be these moments where it would almost be like I have to make sure I make a moment. Like the song that I do will go viral if I make a moment. I remember thinking that because it was what was happening.
Right.
And I remember there would be these moments where I'd be angry and I would direct my anger at leadership or my friends because I was like, you're not telling me what the measure of success is. Like, what's our measure? How do I know I'm being a good worship leader? It seems like good worship gets the YouTube moment. And I realized the Lord was like, you're mad at them, but me and you need to be having a conversation because I didn't put you up here to even think about measuring success. I put you up here. One, that proverb that says the praise of people is like refiner's fire. It's like that was what was happening to us. God, it's not that God was like, what you're doing is wrong. He was like, I got to get the dross out. And the only way to truly get the dross out was to expose because exposure exposes. What Michael Miller always said to us in that season. He would just look at us with our little whiny selves and be like, exposure exposes. Just that it's not the camera. God's bringing it out. Like, it's coming out because you're in the light. And so for me, like, performance looked like, what song am I gonna pick today? Am I and gotta make sure that it hits every time, and I gotta make sure that I sing as much spontaneous as possible, because I know that I'm anointed to do that. And I remember,
do you
just
start
like,
jockeying, like, when you're singing with other people? Like, what?
Oh
Like,
my
I
God,
don't know this
yes.
world. Like, I've seen it.
100%.
What does that look like with your friends? The
Oh my
conversations off
gosh,
stage. Do you
like-
have those conversations? You guys fighting about not fighting? Disagreeing.
No, yes, like, because it was friendship. Like, we would look at each other, and like, someone does some. Before that, we had a prayer set that was a 10 to 12 p.m. Friday night prayer set that nobody came to. Like, before cameras, no one came to our prayer set. Then all of a sudden, people started coming, and it was not us; it was the Lord that was bringing people. But I know I started to feel the pressure of the song that I led, and how long, in our spontaneous moments in a prayer set, that my friends were singing than me, and I would pay attention to that, and it would shut me down. And so then I'd be like, I'm not wanted here. I'm da 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 da, because I dealt with so much rejection in general. And so it would eat my lunch on those stages. And we would have conversations, and someone's moment would go viral, and all of us, it did form us. Like, we became someone on the other side of that. Some of us on the other side of that became like, people were like, I don't care. I could care less about it. Some of us on the other side became people who said we don't care, but cared a lot, and put it myself. And then some of us became, people who were like, I'm out. Like, I don't want to be a part of this because it's too much. But in our conversations, I remember there were so many seasons where we would sit across from each other at coffee and be like, I'm really upset with you.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, and it's the awkward, like, it's so awkward.
Here's the thing that I love, because it's no different in any ministry.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Whenever God's on something, missions field.
Yeah.
Same thing,
Yeah.
right? Traveling with Randy.
Yeah.
With the group of interns. Right? They're all being raised up. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Because you do have to fight through this stuff. The flesh has to die. And I heard a lot of people. Right.
Same.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And I've been doing my best to go around and clean up the messes that I made. But those moments are they're very important. They have to happen, because God does give people platform.
100%. It's from Him.
What I feel like, the little that I've spent with Michael, who I just respect immensely.
Yeah.
Michael was the leader, or is the leader, of Upper Room, and his wife, whose name
Larissa. Yeah.
Larissa. Those guys, when I heard them preach, I was like, I get them.
Yeah.
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 From everything that I've watched him move in, like, feels like they handled that really well. That whole season of going from nobody knowing to bang, like, you guys are all around the globe.
Yeah.
Literally all around the globe.
I will say, I remember in those early days, Larissa, she talk about a big sister. That's my big sister. And there was a statement she made to me once. She said, don't ever leave the altar. She's like, stay at the altar. And she says it so much better than me, but she talked about building a life around the altar, at the altar, and being like, I'll meet you at the altar. If we're in an argument, I'll meet you at the altar. If we're in a place of joy, I'm going to the altar. And it's that place of consistently going, like, Romans 12:1, like, present my body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. So the worship isn't even in the song. The worship isn't even in the stage. It's in the act of daily going, I'm going before the altar. And it sounds so metaphorical, but really what that looks like is when opportunity asks me to pay it, like to say, hey, give me yourself. When opportunity wants to buy me, buy my allegiance, I look at opportunity and say, I don't have my allegiance. My allegiance is at the altar.
Yeah.
And so then I have to go back to the altar to even say, opportunity, can you have this? Like, can opportunity have this? And I've just learned through watching them. Because I'll tell you right now, they are two of the most unimpressed people I ever met. Like, they are so, I remember seasons when crazy, like, people would come and be like, Eniola, I want to write with you, or da-da-da. And I would go back to them like, oh, this person said they want to write with me. And they'd be like, okay, cool. Not a big deal. You know, and it was this beautiful, I loved it because it steadied me. It steadied me and it helped me. They treated people rightly always, and even us. And we were so welcomed into the family. So everything was so family oriented. Right. And so to your point, when it came down to just the craziness, the bigness, each of us had to not go to them, but go before God and get because sometimes on the flip side, we could become victims to the influence that God gives us.
We could become victims.
Yeah. And almost be like, God, how could you let me? Like, how could you? I look at it like Adam and Eve, and then being mad at God for the fruit that's in the garden that he said not to eat from. And then almost be like, Lord, like the woman you gave me, or the snake that was in the garden, or da-da-da-da. It's like, and the Lord's like, you always have a decision to make.
Come on. You
always have a choice to make. And I think I'm learning literally still right now. Yeah. The power of stepping into everything, whether it's a victory or a defeat. Yeah. With God as King. Yeah. Like, I think even when it comes to worship, this is why I love to worship, but also why I'm like, my worship isn't just what's on stage. Because for me, it is that song that I sang as a kid of just like, I pledge allegiance to you. You have my allegiance.
Right. It's your whole life.
It's my life. Yeah. And I think all of us, like in that season at Upper Room, had to get to that point. And I watched all of us do it. I watched my friends do it. Yeah. I watched them go like die at the altar, and then get up and then like let God have everything. Yeah. Whether that meant no stage or stage every time. Yeah.
Well, that's that, and it's obvious.
Yeah, for
sure. In the whole entire crew.
Yeah.
We were just at the Send. Mm-hmm. Alyssa's a fiance. Joel. I'm like the worst with names. Joel. What I love about Joel, and I've never really spent too much time with him, but the little bit of time that I have got to spend with him, very intentional. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't just go, oh, hey, what's your name? Like he's like, how are you? Where are you from? What's going on? Like Alyssa, she was walking by. I was like, hey, this is my wife. I don't think she had ever met my wife. Yeah. She like spent 20 minutes. Didn't have to, right? Like through all that struggle with, it sounds like that family atmosphere that's kept you guys really grounded. Yeah. I think it's produced something insanely beautiful.
I agree.
Insanely beautiful. And listen, I need to take a break because I'm fasting. Then I have a stream of things that I want to hit with you.
I'm so excited.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay. Listen, well, we're back from our break. Yeah. I need to take a break.
I honestly,
not from you. I just need it. I've never done that in a podcast.
It's so good. Also, we were deep diving. Like we were just down in the waters.
Yeah, we were.
So we just needed to come up for some air.
You got a tattoo.
I do.
Just the one?
No, I have 4. I have 1, 2, and then 3, 4.
Can I ask what they are?
Yes. So first tattoo I ever got is the word brave in my handwriting. Went to go get my first tattoo. Then this tattoo is a butterfly tattoo I got with all my best friends when
every chick needs a butterfly
tattoo. I'm telling you. Honestly, we do though. But I got this one, all of my best friends who came with me to Reading to drop me off 2 years ago when I moved. We all got a tattoo.
Hold on, to Reading?
Yeah.
You moved to Reading?
I did for like 4 months.
What?
Uh-huh.
When?
It was the beginning of 2022. That's where I was right before I moved to.
So I just moved out.
Really?
When did we leave Reading? 2021? 2021? 2022?
2022
2021. 2021 I moved out.
The 20s is when I got there.
Okay. Aww.
Or 3. No, 2.
Okay.
We all got this. And then I got this one because one of my favorite artists is John Michael Basquiat.
Basquiat.
Yes.
But Dylan has a Basquiat sweatshirt. I love Basquiat.
I love Basquiat.
Birth of Earth
Yes.
is my favorite Basquiat.
Yes. I love him specifically because of the use of the crown.
Yeah.
And because my last name means royalty. And so there's just such a beautiful...
Dude, leave a comment if you like art, okay?
Yeah.
Leave a comment.
Show love.
Seriously, like leave a comment and show some love because before we started filming, Eniola was like, I rarely get to talk about this stuff. And I love the fact that you get to talk about this stuff.
I know. It just is so like, it's so good for my heart.
Yeah.
This last piece I got here in Franklin.
What?
From one of my friends. Her name is Rachel Cunningham. And she has a True Eden is the name of her whole thing. And
is she on Insta?
Yeah, I think True Eden.
Check it out. Get your
Check
tattoo
out
there.
True Eden. Her bookings may be closed, but maybe open. I don't know.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
What kind of flower is it?
Base. It's a evening primrose.
Why primrose?
So here's what's crazy. She goes, hey, I would love to do a tattoo for you. Can I pick the flower and the size? And I was like, yes and yes. Because I knew I wanted this. Like,
right.
Real talk, my dream is to get like a garden all up my arm.
Yeah.
But she picked this because of evening primrose, I believe represents first love.
Wow.
And so it was just a like this beautiful like prophetic word, honestly. And that's kind of her whole thing when it comes to tattoos as well.
I love it.
So yeah.
I've been thinking about getting one for years.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It was going to be a primrose, but I decided.
Yeah.
You just kind of ruined it for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You can't. Yeah.
What tattoo should I get?
You should get. Tell me, God, a cross. You should get a drawing of Mozambique.
Really?
No.
Let's go. Actually, my son and I are having a conversation about tattoos. Right
Wow.
now. He's 17. And I told him he could get a tattoo if it was his grandfather's or grandmother's artwork.
That's really special.
So,
that's really special.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I remember the first time I showed my parents these. And my dad, I love him so much. He literally goes, it looks nice. You know, like he was, because he like didn't want me to get a tattoo, but he was like, it's great.
Yeah, I don't want it for my kids. I don't. But like whatever. It doesn't matter.
I get it.
It's just don't go go to a place where it's going to like cost you a relationship.
Yeah.
See, the thing is in missions, which you are.
Very true.
Right?
Very true.
You can really hurt. You can close doors before they even open.
100%. 100%.
And I would rather, just my personality type is, I would rather not stir the pot for the sake of stirring the pot. There are other people, like I got a friend of mine, and I mean this in the most beautiful way. Jake Hamilton, who I was thinking you definitely should meet.
Oh, I'm down.
Jake has this gift where he can like go in and just stir the pot, like every like religious pot. It's like this calling on him. And then like if people get offended, he like wraps his arms around them. He's like, we're going to run together now. Like, and it's just healing. Like I love actually a lot of the time while you were sharing about your journey into art, like, do you know who Jake Hamilton is?
I know of him. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Some of his songs have wrecked me.
Jake and you are so similar in so many ways. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, he's a dude and is a rocker, but like the love of literature, the love of poetry, the love of creativity. You can't put shout out Jake Hamilton, honestly, by the way. I love you, dude. Bro. Yeah. He beautifully navigates this call of worship, but doesn't stop it there. Like Heart of Family, he literally, like his ministry right now is like going after fathers and going after husbands, like to get their marriages. Like I've sat around fire pits with him, and you think, like I pride myself on getting people to talk. I was within moments. He's just having men share their deepest, darkest
Oh
secrets
my gosh.
to see healing for the family.
Wow.
Jake and
Thank
Nikki
you,
Hamilton
Lord.
are incredible.
I've
You
only
would
heard good things about
you would
them.
love Jake, like art, creativity, but deep passion for the Lord. And Jake also had this meteoric rise, right? Where he went hidden from like a pastor in Southern California to bang. He's literally running around the globe in stadiums. I love that man. You need to meet sometime.
I'm down. So down.
Okay, listen, because I know our cameras only have a certain amount of time that they can record. So I want to make sure we cover a couple of stories or a couple of. I actually want to hear a couple things that I don't know.
Yeah.
So you're there. You're in Texas.
Yeah.
You have cameras now.
Yeah.
Right. Your team is going through a sorting season. Right.
Yeah.
And good stuff is coming up to the surface and it's being dealt with.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
How the heck did you go from there to circuit riders being at the Send? And can I just say, like, I think it was Boston. Was it in Boston? Every Other God is an Idol. Like, I came back.
Shout out Tim Reimer.
Yeah, I don't know who Tim Reimer is.
Yeah.
But I bet he doesn't have pipes like yours.
No.
The fear of God came in the room. The fear of God. And I came back and I told my daughter, Bella, I was like, Bella, you have to listen to this. And then she's been playing it nonstop. And then you sang that again at the Send. Why is that song? Why does heaven fall when you sing it? Like, what is it about that song that you have fully? I've heard other people sing it.
Yeah.
But like when you sing it, there's a.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
I've been wondering the same thing. And I think potentially I more than anything, I believe that song. More than anything. It's what I was saying about Acts 17. It's what I was saying about art. It's what I was saying about my history with the rejection. And I just feel like my life has been this story where God has only proven that he is literally the only one who could do anything. Like, there's no other being in existence who can fill my bedroom with love, like not with, and not take anything from me except all the things that would hinder me from experiencing love. Who the heck else can do that? Who can fill me with love and only take away the things that hinder love? And I think I've just been so convinced and convicted. Like, the fear of the Lord is the most beautiful place I've ever lived. Like, it is so, to fear God means I see him. It means I could see God. Yeah. Because to fear God literally means I'm in the place where you are, and everything that you are, I'm receiving. Like, I think of Isaiah 6 and how intense that scripture is, where Isaiah, the coal touches his lips. That's intense. And then he's like, woe is me, for I'm a man of unclean lips, and I dwell amongst a people of unclean lips, and intense. But then the fruit of that place is so, in light of that, here am I, send me. And everything in the scriptures points to a God who is love, a Godhead that is filled with love. Isaiah in the Old Testament encountered love. Love burned like the coal. Like, love was the one that brought him coal. Love was the one that provoked him to go, here am I, send me. Love was the one that had him writing all these incredible prophecies about someone he had not yet, I don't know, maybe he did see, but I'm just like, it was love. And love and the fear of God are these, they're not even like two sides of the same coin. They're the essence of God. Yeah. And I'm like, who else can boast that?
Right.
Who else could boast that? And whenever I sing every other God is an idol, I think it's probably tattooed on the inside of my heart somewhere. Like, I really do. I'm like, because I could feel so insecure. I could feel like all eyes are on me, and what am I doing on this enormous stage in a freaking arena? Like, I could just be like, what the heck am I doing here? And then all of a sudden I remember that every other God, anyone else, whether that God is material, whether that God is another religion, whether that God is whoever Satan tries to make himself in people's lives, it's an idol. Like, it's just an idol. And you can fit an idol in your pocket. Like, a man's hands can make that. Like, I think it's in Isaiah where it has that whole thing. I can't remember where in Isaiah, but it literally starts to go, it's like, you're worshiping something that you chopped the tree down and then you shaped it with your hands. Yeah. And now you're worshiping that. Like, it's going to bring you rain. A flame will consume that thing. My God is a consuming fire. Yeah. He died on a piece of wood. Like, creation groans for him. Like, everything points to him. And so then I'm like, what else is there that is that important? And I think this world is just full of so many things that are vying for that. And I don't know, maybe the Lord is just like, I really believe you, or whatever.
Did you hear that? That was a dog, I think.
So loud, too.
It was.
I don't know.
I don't.
That would be crazy.
It's a big rat. We do have rats sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm leaving. I'm just kidding.
I got to ask you another question. Yeah. I have so many. I noticed that when you worship, I notice in a lot of the upper room, but I also know, Stephanie, who's a good friend and I respect. You worship with your eyes closed most of the time. Yeah. Why?
I think I go back. It's a tension point for me because I want to be connected to the people that I'm worshiping with. Yeah. And I don't just mean on stage, I mean in front of as well. And I think, like, sometimes worshiping with my eyes closed anchors me. It's like I don't necessarily mean this negative because I haven't decided that it's negative that I do it. I just know it's a habit. And so worshiping with my eyes closed, it's like I feel anchored and I feel like I can lock into what I'm doing and what I'm saying. It kind of goes back to that season I was telling you about of just like, I just don't want to lie up here. I don't want to be lying. Like, if I'm singing, anything, if I'm singing Our God Reigns, I'm trying to put myself into that reality. Yeah. If I'm watching a movie, I never close my eyes because I'll miss something. Right. Like, if I'm listening to a song, and you talk to me in the middle of the song, I'm going to start the song over, Really? Yeah, because I'm like, I got to remember, I got to hear what just happened. I'm the kind of person who like repeats. Like, I repeat songs. Like, I find a song I love and that's the song I go to, like, all the time.
All the time.
And I feel like with God, because I cannot see him, closing my eyes helps me to walk by faith in those moments and agree with what's true. Yeah. Or else I'll start to depend it on people's reactions. Yeah. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to ignore that either. I feel both things.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I'm like, if you're in the room and you start screaming because a song we're singing is doing something. Right. My desire is that I align with whatever God's doing, and hopefully you're aligned with whatever God's doing, so that I'm not doing it based off of what you're doing. I'm doing it based off of, but then also in a place of love. I mean, as a missionary, as a circuit rider, we go to college campuses all the time. And so we get to these college campuses and they're like, play this song. And it's like, okay, like, yeah, there's nothing sinful about me doing the song that you wanted me to do. Right. Like, we wrote it. So of course, but I do think like closing my eyes becomes just like my little way of staying staying young and staying connected, and like, and then in the same breath, I try and remember to open them and look at people in the eyes when I'm worshiping in front of them. Cause this isn't like, I'm not a Grammy award winning like singer on a stage that is hosting a concert. I'm your sister who's up on the stage singing words for us, our body. Like,
hold
that's
on.
like, yeah.
Time out. Have you guys won awards I don't know of?
No.
Okay.
No.
You've been nominated though, right?
I don't know.
There are a bunch that are getting awards.
Yeah. A lot of people.
Is that something you desire? In a beautiful way.
No,
like in the
yeah,
purest
I hear
way.
you. I feel it in pure. I don't. I'll say this.
Like it would be cool?
It would be cool.
Okay.
It would be so cool.
Yeah.
It'd be so cool. But every time I think of this, you remember like growing up watching Larry King Live?
Yeah.
And then somebody would like
It's such a weird. I haven't been asked that in forever.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But somebody would say something, and you'd be like, "Ugh, if I was there, I would never say that."
Right.
I always was like scared of being the person who would be on Larry King Live or getting an award, and they're like, "She didn't even thank God for real," you know. So I'm always like, "Nah, I'm good. Like, I don't want to."
Because there's a lot. What I've seen lately, and honestly, in my heart of hearts, zero shade. There's some friends are winning awards,
yes.
right? And I love that. And have you seen a shift in worship where the award means nothing?
Yeah.
Like, I have friends that have won multiple awards, like personal friends that love the Lord. So I'm not trying to point out a specific person at all.
Yeah.
But every time I see that, I'm like, man, that's got to be a hard thing to navigate.
I have only known whenever the accolades of man reach like a height, there's a struggle for the person to stay tethered to God.
Yeah.
Like, and not necessarily, like you have to, because there's a wrestle. I would venture to say that if man presents you with a high award, then at some level you will have to come to terms with what you're going to do with that.
Yeah.
As in waiting to hear what God actually has to say.
Yeah.
I think maybe the tension point with award shows, all those things just ends up being, we are a company of saints. And we've been bought by blood. And everything we're doing on this side of history is for this beautiful man. And there are these, I've been reading the Martyr's Letter. I am
Foxes.
of the fellowship. No, the one written by the Rwandan martyr is that I'm of the fellowship of the unashamed. It keeps going, but I read these like manifestos that martyrs, people who have been martyred, give, and people don't run out there looking to be martyred. Like they run out there looking to give God all the glory His due. Yeah. Which another word for glory is fame, right? So
parse this out.
Yeah. So what it looks like to give God His glory is to lay my life down all the way on the floor, blood leaking. Like it's like everything I have becomes His, which is why there's a fellowship in suffering. So then when we as man build these ways of honoring one another, that almost seems like it matches. I never thought I'd be the person saying these words. So just talk. But it's like, but that matches.
This is a conversation.
It is such a conversation.
And this is an opinion today. It might change.
Yes,
and it might
totally
not.
Might change.
And people that watch this, they get that. And the ones that don't,
it's all right.
I love fine. You. They're awesome and they're on their path. But like this is a conversation.
Yeah. I think that the reality is you looking at me going, your song was so good. Here's a award.
Yeah.
What matters is, what do I think is the
Right.
measure of success for the song? And so I think of songs like, okay, Agnes Day.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's
If
one of the greatest songs.
the person who wrote that song,
Who wrote it?
I think it's Michael W.
I think it is Michael W. Smith.
Me
But for me,
too.
it was Mac Powell, Third
Oh,
Day.
Wow.
The first time I heard that song. And
Wow.
it is.
It's
Do you know,
in there.
Do you know who?
I know who Third Day is. I knew none
Oh
of the
my
people.
gosh. Mac Powell, Third Day, when they did that. They were just a touring rock Christian
Yeah.
group
Yeah.
that when he sings that song, still to this day, and it came at a moment when I was like in transformation, giving my life away.
Well,
Still, it shakes me to the core.
but
I
isn't
love
that
song.
interesting? What are we saying? Only you are holy.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, are you Lord God Almighty? Worthy is the Lamb. That's all we're saying. That's all we're saying. And I'm like, that, the measure of success for a song, I think, is what happens when the song is sung.
Yeah.
Which could be, oh my gosh, the room went crazy because they love that song. Which, to be honest, the room could go crazy. If you open up with, do the look at the stars, how they shine for you, the room's gonna go crazy because we love Coldplay. You know what I'm saying? Like name a person, like
Right.
there's like an intro to a Kanye song. As
Right.
soon as you hear it,
Right.
you're like, you know. I think I dream that is God's reaction to a song I wrote. Whether the song is vertical or the song is horizontal, the song is commissioning or the song is a love song or the song is whatever. My dream is that if I write it, that the tether is so strong here that he's like, oh, I love that song. I was waiting for that song. No matter what it is. I remember I had this moment years ago at Upper Room, and it was like my first or second time leading worship, and I was leading one of my friends, Cody Rayleigh, and we were leading, and I remember we went into this spontaneous moment of like, I'll never be separated. I'll never be separated. And then I started singing because it was in my heart. I just said, wise men say, only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. And I remember like I closed my eyes because I got really nervous. And so I was feeling like the nervous chills. So I just closed my eyes and I was like, I'm going to lock in because I'm singing this to you. And you just so happened to overwhelm me while I was standing in front of people. So what do I do here? And I remember I started crying and it went a cappella, like there was nothing playing. And then all you could hear in the room was just people weeping. And I said, that for me is a measure of success, is one, the evidence of God's manifest presence in a moment. When you sing something, that's it. And so I think it's, that can be hard because who doesn't want to dress up and go to the awards show and have a bunch of people agree that you wrote the best song of the year? That's cool. It's so cool.
It is cool.
But
I think it's also like, I think it's hypocritical to say like God wants to put us in every place in the world.
That part.
And I think we can get a little hypocritical with that. For me, it boils down to who's the person. Right? Like, how are they handling? Like, how are you handling the transition from being hidden in a prayer room to cameras now being put on? Like, and I think that there are these stages of growth. Bill Johnson said this to me. I think he said this before. He said it a lot of places, but he said this to me when I asked him how does he handle all this stuff? Because first time I saw him in '99, I was 17. And people would run out of his session. This is 1999. They would just get up and run and start like armfuls of his product they had never heard anything like it before. It was still to this day, it's one of the only times I've heard audible screams while someone's just preaching, because they had never heard that before. They're like, I can't, like, like, it was like they found what they had been, like, these messages they've been looking for. And Bill said, every day he says, I have no problem accepting someone's like, thank you, that was an amazing message. He goes, every day the important thing is that I put my crown down at his feet, him. Right?
Yes.
Because there is a tension in there. I don't have it figured out. I do know that nobody has a problem with my friends that are in rock, or like I've had Brian on here from Korn.
Yeah.
Nobody has a problem with him winning awards.
Yes. You know what? There's this thing that I might get this wrong, but there's a man of God. His name is Phil Ward. Phil.
Are you talking about Phil and Amy?
Yeah.
Heck yeah! I was just at his birthday party a couple nights ago.
I love Phil so much.
Those guys.
I love Phil.
I met Phil.
That must have been a while.
I met Phil like 18 years ago.
Wow.
In Brazil. Anyway, another story. Like I knew him. Different Phil.
That's crazy.
Same dude, same amazing heart. Yeah.
I love him. He's a treasure to me. Like how you're a treasure to me. Like he's a treasure to me.
Love that dude.
I have another friend who was preaching this message, and he quoted a dream that Phil had. And he said, long story short, I could butcher it, but Phil was standing somewhere, and an angel came to him in the dream. It's crazy, whatever. But an angel came to him in the dream and then gave him like a beautiful crown. And then, and the crown was like immaculate, gorgeous, just a beautiful crown. And Phil was like, no, that's not for me. Keep the crown. And the angel was like forcefully like, bro, take this crown. Yeah. And Phil's like, I'm not taking that crown. Finally, at some point, he gives and he puts the crown on. And then I think either he entered another space, and in this space, he was now before Jesus. And when he was in that space, he threw the crown as hard as he could before him. Then he turned around and ran back to see if he had anything else to give him. And there was nothing else, no other crowns. And I was wrecked by that story dream. To me, it's a life parable, because I kept thinking the Bible says he's crowned with many crowns. It talks about elders throwing crowns at his feet. Where did they get the crowns from? Like, where did they come from? And then you read scriptures that it says, if you endure, you'll receive the crown of life. Like, you have all these, okay? So then I'm thinking to myself, if perhaps Michael W. Smith's crown is the world's response to Agnes Day, if someone else's crown is their Grammy, if someone else's crown is their Oscar, if someone else's crown is their children, like whatever, and then you get before the King of Kings, I want to be able to throw, if you're giving me this door, instead of being a victim to my influence, I want to steward it as a talent and go, when you come back, Master, here is what I've done. Here are all the crowns. I would love to spend all my days, because that's what we're doing when we're worshiping. We're just saying to him, everything is yours. The beauty is yours. The glory is yours. The dominion is yours. The adoration, the praise, the honor, all of it, it's yours. Every beautiful thing, it belongs to you. And I think we do well to steward like those crowns, and we go, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Eniola, that was incredible. Thank you so much. No, it wasn't me. It's like, it was God. In that,
it wasn't that good.
It wasn't that good. Like, God wasn't singing, you know what I'm saying? We wouldn't be here if he was.
Right.
And so I do feel this longing to demystify like that fear of being prideful, and that fear of, but also the fear of the Lord will keep you. It keeps us. It's clean. And it's the beginning of wisdom. And so whenever I feel myself even remotely thinking about touching the glory of God,
Right.
then I run to the altar and I say, you've got to burn me again. Like I've got to be on fire again. And so
community keeps you
100%.
And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, right? They get out of community. They start in community, then they get out of community. They're like, favor comes,
and then
they think that they're
isolate.
Yep. It's dangerous. So community, being a part of a local body, having friends that disagree with you, and you not running, like all of it all plays a crucial role. I don't have. How much time we got before our recording goes out? Yeah. Okay. We're gonna rapid fire.
Okay, let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah.
Who are the top people on your Spotify right now?
Ooh.
Yeah, I want it. Pull it out. Okay. I don't want.
Can I look? Because I don't have it memorized. Okay, right now I am listening to instrumental music. So Judah Earl, I said him earlier.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And then I have there's this incredible girl named Mirda Nicholas. She lives in Jersey. She has a song.
Shout out Mirda.
Shout out Mirda. You know I love you. She has a song called Kind God. I cannot stop listening to that song.
Okay.
I love every lyric in that song. And then I am also listening to Afrobeat praise and worship and like Afrobeat hip hop. And then a woman named Sumisola Agbebi.
Yeah.
She's Sumisola Agbebi.
Are you a Tobe Nwigwe fan?
I love Tobe Nwigwe so much.
I can't even pronounce the last name.
That's all right.
Nwigwe.
That's why I said it for you.
I love
him.
He's mixing the arts. And he
insane.
Really, really beautiful.
Insane.
And like family, preaches family.
I know.
I'm
like,
good dude.
I know. I just think people don't realize how, what's the word that, like, how much of a change it is to see a rapper speaking to this demographic the way he is about building a family. It's insane. Anyways, but yeah, it's like African worship, African like Christian hip hop, which is called Afro beats, and then instrumentals and Mirta.
Have you ever listened to Lady Smith, Black Mambaza from South Africa? You would
no
it's like the classic kind of voice.
Ooh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Lady Smith, Black Mambaza is incredible.
Yes.
I grew up on that.
Wow.
I don't know how, but I went and saw them live when I was a little kid. Rejoice Africa. Have you ever listened to that?
I love your parents.
I grew up in Massachusetts.
They are cultured, okay?
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, they are very cultured.
We just were weird.
Like you're a missionary now.
Mm-hmm. And so are my sisters.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. Give me, like, people ask me this question all the time.
Yeah.
What is the greatest miracle you've ever seen? What's the greatest? And they ask me these questions, and I never give them the same answer.
Yeah.
But was there a moment in worship that something happened, that's something... What's your greatest, what's your greatest miracle you've seen? Separate from salvation.
Yeah.
Okay. Or a moment in worship, or like something where you're like, whoa, I've seen crazy stuff take place.
So I will say this, all of the best would be with people. And so I was living in Denver at the time, it was 2014, and my best friends came up to Denver to see me. It was really hard because I was relatively alone. Like I had people around me, but my closest friends lived in Denver. Dallas. So I just was like, every day was pretty painful. But they came up to see me and we all like slept in the prayer room because we were in a house. So we all slept in the prayer room. And Joel turned on a set with with Hannah McClure and William Matthews, I think. I don't remember what they were singing, but it was like when Bethel had like their spontaneous stuff that you could kind of like.
Yeah.
And so he played them. And so we're just sitting in the living room and we're all in our separate, we've done this so many times. And we have our Bibles, we're sitting there heads back, and we just start to like listen. And all of a sudden Joel goes, hey, let's hold hands. So we got in a circle, just holding hands around the table, and we started to pray, like pray in the Spirit.
Such a sweet dude.
And he is such an initiator. Yeah. And so we're all there. Alyssa's here, my friend Johnny, Hannah, myself, Joel. I think it's 5 of us, and we're just there holding hands. And all of a sudden, it was very sovereign, and it's 11 p.m. right now in this moment. The glory of God hits the room we didn't realize what was happening. Yeah. Like all of us were like Joel was the first person to like react, and he goes, what is that? I remember like my eyes were closed. I was kind of too scared to open them. And he was like, what is happening right now? And all of us hands holding, and we're all just like shaking and trying to stay standing, but we're like falling a little, like what's happening right now? And there's travail, there's groans. We're like weeping and laughing and going, like all these things. And the presence of God is so thick. And for 4 hours, we are trembling, shaking, weeping, crying. And it marked us. It marked us because we were like, at least I don't remember going, God, would you come? Yeah. He just came, and what he did in us, he just wounded us in the best way. Like, it's like I'm scarred for life with the glory and the presence of God. I can never, ever say that I don't know him, because I knew him in a new way. So come on, that was the most insane thing that ever happened.
If there is because I know a lot of people look up to you. Okay. So in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, to every 9-year-old Eniola, right? Back when you started, up until someone who feels the call for worship on their life. What's your biggest wisdom nugget that you could share with them right now?
Like God can always be reached. Like he is not far. And there's no part of this journey as a worshiper that I have to do without him. No part. There's no part. You can have a quiet time if you want to. You can do a devotional if you want to. All of that is so good, so right, so important. But he is worthy of every moment. Like even right now, like talking to you and being connected to him, like that's the journey of our life. And I just would say, like, stay close to him, as close as you can, like, and not necessarily in a works way, even though there is a work to it, there's an effort we put, but know that you are close. And you're wanted by God. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter nothing. It doesn't matter how much you know about him, how much you don't know about him. He wants you, like more than you ever would want God. He wants you. And on the other side of saying yes to God is this world that even C.S. Lewis could not make as beautiful as it truly is. And so I hope and long. I wrote this poem recently, and one of the statements I wrote was hungry for the holy. That's just a statement I wrote in the poem. And I was like, I want people to be like that, hungry for holy, and not just holy things, but the one who's holy, hungry for the one who's holy, because he's made himself available. Like he's not distant. He's not far. Acts 17 says that. He's like, he put us everywhere that we are so that he can be reached, because he's not far. And so I just would love, like, I'm like, Lord, just tear down every lie that would say that God's far away. It's like he's closer than my own skin. Yeah. So
that was a long 2 sentences.
It was so sorry.
As a literary expert. Yeah. No, just kidding. I love it. Weird question. Never asked this. If there's anyone that I don't know, or maybe maybe know of, but that you think I should have sit here,
Ooh,
is there someone?
he's gonna hate me.
I
for
love.
saying
This is what I want.
Nick Brent.
Nick Brent.
Yes.
I would love to have him on.
Yeah.
Nick.
He's gonna hate.
Well, hold on. Well, let me ask you why.
Nick is extremely humble. He's one of the most intelligent,
Yeah.
wise builders of people. Oh my gosh, there's so many people's names that are flooding my mind now.
Okay, hold
But
on. Let's
Bill
go
is-
1, 2, 3.
I know, yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Okay,
and
okay.
I'm running out of time.
Okay. Oh no, can I do 4?
You can do 4.
Okay. Number 1 is Nick Brent.
Okay.
Number 2 is Yasmin Pierce.
Okay.
Number 3, and maybe Michael, her husband. Number 3 is Matt Nelson.
Okay.
And then number 4 would be Christy Brent.
Oh man. Yes.
In
Okay.
fact, you should just have everyone in Secret.
Well, this is
But, yeah.
this is the thing.
Yeah.
Number 1, if you guys want to see them, let me know who.
Say it in the comments.
Yeah, let me know who. Okay, and then you're a part of Circuit Riders.
Yes.
now. So a few years ago, I'm sorry, I'm getting
No,
calls. Heidi just texted me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just
No, it's
kidding.
okay. It's whoa. Impressed? No, I'm just kidding. It happens. I've totally forget what I was saying.
No, you were saying Circuit Riders.
Yeah, you transitioned out of Upper Room.
I can say that story so fast.
Please, because
Yeah.
let's end with that.
Okay.
But yeah, give it to me.
Yeah.
Because that's when we recently connected.
Uh-huh.
And I have to say this before you go. So Circuit Rider School was one of the favorite schools I have been to in a long time.
Wow.
So if you want more information on Circuit Rider
Yeah.
School, go to Iris Global and click on Harvest School. No, I'm just kidding.
That's
That's, our
crazy.
school. No, but honestly, like, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go check out there. That was dumb.
That was
so dumb. I shouldn't have done that.
No, that was incredible.
Go to Circuit Riders.
CircuitRiders.com.
Legit incredible.
Yeah.
I had so much fun. So transition.
Yeah. So right after as the season was, I didn't know it was ending, but I started to get a little anxious. Like, and I was like, God, what are you calling me to? I want to put my hands in the dirt is what I would say in prayer. I was like, I want to put my hands in the dirt of my generation. The racial situation of 2020 was heartbreaking. And I was longing to know, like, how on earth do you want me to show up in this? Because I'm feeling strong feelings, but I don't know where to put them.
Yep.
Fast forward, beginning of 2021, I'm invited to this event called Black Voices. That wasn't the name. But the late Brian Brent, who started Circuit Riders, had a dream in his heart to empower the voices of young Black people and to make a dent in the statistic that less than 1% of the American missionary sending population is African American. And so the dream God put in his heart was to gather Black leaders from all over and then see what God would do. I went to this event. My life was completely changed. I heard words about myself that I'd never heard before. I was honored in a way I had never been honored before. And I was like, this is where I belong. But I didn't have those words. I wasn't like gonna move like based on that. I just like, whatever you're doing in my life, I'm down. Fast forward to the summer of 2021, we do a recording where we do the Black Voices album. We write songs. God moves.
I listen to some of those songs every day.
It's insane
In my
what
house,
God does. The following year, I serve with them on their tour. They do an 8-week HBCU tour, Historically Black College University tour, preaching the gospel at Black universities all over the U.S. They're on it right now. Actually, tomorrow I'm getting on the plane to join them in Atlanta.
So this will come out in 2 days, right?
Yeah.
2 days? No. I'm sorry. This will come out in 9 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where are you going to be?
In 9 days, I think I'll be probably in Atlanta. And we'll be at a HBCU in Atlanta preaching the gospel. And so that's
Drive on up. We can do this again. Okay.
Honestly, we could. But then following that, I attend the Send in Kansas City. And while I'm standing there, the prayer for Black missionaries goes out.
I remember.
I'm sobbing.
Yeah.
And I'm surrounded by the other few Black missionaries that are part of what was becoming Black voices as well.
Yeah.
And the word goes out, the fields are ripe with harvest. Pray for the laborers. And the Lord spoke to me, said, Eni, this is your field. Like this is your field. Disciple my kids. And so I was like, I'm jumping in. And in between that, there was a 4-month stint where I was in Reading because I thought I was moving to California to learn about film school. But God really was using that to just pull me away for a season, speak to me, and then launch me into that. And now my life is like, I'm living the best dream ever. I'm watching every negative word people have about Gen Z. I'm like, you could shove that because I'm watching harvest. Like I'm watching harvest.
There was hunger in that school.
Yes.
And not just hunger, but like wanting to be
There's
told hard things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like wrestle with it.
Yeah.
Like it was that I haven't seen in a lot of schools in a long time.
Because the people of God are ready and they're ready to go. And for me, lastly, to see Black people lift their shoes, lift their heart and say, send me, I'll go. That is changing my life.
So Lou Engle, The Send, Boston. I was 18, 19. What they had this guy, I forget his name, please, because we're friends and I forget your name. He had went around with the story of like the cooking pot. Yes. Mm-hmm. That was the first time I had heard that message. So we're talking 20 years ago. I felt like when I stepped into Circuit Riders and when I've been to the Sends, and I know other people are doing this. This is just me personally. It's the first time I've seen an intentional, like, we will not let things continue on the way that they've been.
And it's a movement. It's a missional movement. And so the goal of it is to go, this is the reason we exist is because a generation is being lost to voices that are saying it's like false empowerment. And the enemy is taking a hold and trying to give Black people platforms. And the people of God are going, actually, no, God has something to say about your voice. He wants to fill your mouth with the message of the gospel so that any area of society that you go into will be completely transformed by what's on your life. Because you don't just get a seat at the table. You're a family member and this is your table as well. And so anyways,
I really could keep going on.
Same.
I really could. So we're just gonna have to do this again.
Yeah, I'm in. I'll come back.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah.
I just dig you. And can you listen, you like and subscribe and share this. There's a lot of people that need to hear this.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for watching. Do we have like 2 minutes left? Could you pray for us?
Yeah.
Could you sing? Could you share a poem? Could you do anything? Whatever you want. Zero pressure to do anything. But like, could you close this?
Yeah.
Pray, do whatever.
I would love to.
Anything.
This is so good. Yeah, Lord, I feel like there are people who are listening to this and are wondering at the spot that they take up in the narrative of your story of the body of Christ. And they feel like outcasts and outliers and like they have to keep explaining themselves. And Jesus, I'm asking that you would land on them right now with a comfort that only you can give, that their curiosity, that their longing for discovery and for innovation and for, creativity, but more than that, it's not small to you, God. It's not a byproduct and it's not a means to an end. Jesus, you have woven into them a part of your nature and a longing to see the glory of God revealed in the earth through film, through songs, through music. And God, I ask right now that you would pioneer new films, new stories, new music, God, things that shook the world the way some of I remember that season when Marvel was going crazy and they were at their best, and and when hip hop came on the scene and transformed everything and fashion impacted the way that people even sold clothes, Jesus. And I think of how Pantone influence is the color of the year. And Lord, I ask you, God, that Renaissance won't just be a buzzword, but you would land on a company of people who will courageously take the theology, the study of God and his word into the realm of the arts fearlessly, Lord. Just do it in them. And I thank you for young Black leaders and people and the people that love them, who are wondering how to show up on this side of eternity. I ask you, Jesus, to fill them with solution, fill them with courage, fill them with a lot of joy, and fill people's tables with food, God. Let there be tables like just everywhere, and families everywhere. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Eniola, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Shout out to Lindy.
Yes.
I'm just sitting here thinking, shout out to Circuit Riders, Andy Bird, The Send.
Yeah. I love you, YWAM.
Go check out YWAM. Go check out Circuit Riders, and go listen to my friend Eniola's music. It'll bless you. Love you guys. Thank you for watching this episode of the Iris Global Green Room. It's there on the wall. Like, subscribe, and things. And we will see you on the next one.
That was a dream.